Hello, everyone, and welcome for more Apex Online Racing Formula One action. I am Fizzymon, and I'll be your host here today, and alongside me is Tipster, as we are here for Season 23, Round number 11 for the PC F1 European Championship. We are here today in Zandvoort, near the beach in the Netherlands, for the Dutch Grand Prix. Tipster, it's been a crazy last couple of races. How are you feeling going into our third to last round for season 23?
Good Narvant to you, and yes, it is. We are approaching the final stretch of our championship, and what a race we have in store! Oh my goodness, the flowing twists and bends of Zandvoort. Going to be asking a lot of our cars and drivers this week. Going to be keeping those corners tight, key to holding on position throughout this 36-lap race. Turn 14, Luyendijk is going to be really shifting the weight to where the inside tyres, as that camber is enough to make Indy 500 blush before they hit that crucial start-finish DRS zone. So it's quite the circuit we've got tonight.
Yes, it is indeed. But before we get to the action on track here, we're going to go ahead and take a look at our drivers and constructors standings. I'll run through the drivers' standings, and you can do the constructors, Tipster, and then after
Okay, no
that, you'll
problem.
have to give everyone a quick refresher on what happened last week when we were out at Circuit of the Americas. So, looking at the Drivers' Championship, Jan Fehler still leads the way, 139 points to 122 over F1 Racer. He's got a nice 17-point gap. However, two P10s in a row has allowed F1 Racer to close within a race victory of him, so he needs to get on the right foot here today in the Netherlands. CDR Lucas dropping down a little bit. His 4 wins on the season have given him 100 points, but he only has 12 points other than those race wins. He's able to hold on to third right now, but he's got Maester Hoffy closing in behind with 101 points. And fifth, we have Kev Genetics dropping down a spot with Maddie 29 holding station in 6th. Persegili up into 7th, the Finnish driver, 64 points, only 2 ahead of Krusix in his Aston Martin. Galaxy is in 9th, and rounding out the top 10 is our mate who has entered the top 10 for the first time this season. Over to the constructors, Tipster.
Yes, and well, we'll start from the bottom. No movement for our bottom two teams, allowing Alfa Romeo to extend their gap. Aston Martin pull away and are closing in on Mercedes to just 10 points. Ferrari bounce back within 4 points of the junior bulls of Alpha Tauri. And it's a big day for the Bulls senior team, though, a 4-5, putting them up into third. And just look at how tight that race for third is. But the big news, McLaren down to second as the Haas team claim their first win of the season, the top spot of the Constructors' Championship. But of course, that could all change with 3 races to go as we get on down to qualifying, which is underway. 18 minutes for our drivers to put in the best time. It's looking a little bit overcast out there today, Fizzy, I have to say.
Yeah, it is indeed. Very much so. A lot of overcast here, but the drivers are out on track. 18 of them here today. The Borner, one of the first ones out on track. I'm going to go ahead and quickly pull up all the essential information here. He's going to be the first one in his Williams to start a hot lap here in the session. We'll have to wait and see. Now, he is on the medium compounded tire while everyone else is on the soft, so that'll be one to watch for here, as race strategy should be an easy soft, medium, or medium soft strategy, but how it is very hard to overtake around here, Tipster.
It is indeed, and I've just had it confirmed by our weather centre that we're expecting rain for the beginning of the race. 82% chance of rain at race start. So really, the qualifying tyre here doesn't matter too much. They can really full gun it if they want to, because they're probably going to be starting on the inters or even the wets.
That is true. Now, knock on wood, it doesn't happen to him, but there's always that possibility that it could be raining light enough where they start on the dry tires. So qualifying will be important nonetheless, because most likely they will have free tire choice, like you said. But the Borner starting out on mediums, which gives them an extra couple sets of softs to work with, but he has invalidated it through the Audi right-hander of turn number 11. Also, another driver who struggled on their opening lap was Malkian. While you were talking there, Tipster, he spun out of turn number 1, kept it out of the wall, but those tires are certainly going to be cooked in his Alpha Tauri. Looking at the rest of the grid, though, everyone else out on soft, so I'm assuming everyone thinks rain is coming. As Jan Fehler sets the early benchmark time with a 1:10.0. I'm going to be honest, this is probably the first time I've seen Fehler be one of the first cars out on track in qualifying. He always waits, but he has the benchmark time, a half a second clear of Galaxy in his Haas. And Malkian, as you can see, 13 seconds off the pace as he was on a nice, easy lap. But Maestro Hoffy takes the top spot in his Haas with a 1:10.040 as the times start cooking in. Mag 29 and R8, the Red Bulls 3 and 4 right now. Here comes, I believe, Krusix across the line. No, that was not Krusix, sorry. That was They Call Me Ace, who jumps up into third. This track is ramping up. We have a couple slow Alpines in the middle sector. That was Carlos getting out of the way for his teammate Tisu this time around, as a lot of these times are flying in here early on in the session. I do think, Tipster, that everyone is assuming that they're going to have that free tire choice at the start. Now, granted, I think if you end up starting on the softs and it is raining a little bit, you're still in a driver's seat because they will give you just that much more grip at the start of the race. But we'll have to wait and see. Overtaking is hard, but Zandvoort, the weather here, you know, it's going to go wet to dry, but you don't happen to know how long it's going to stay wet, do you?
So, looking at the report that we've got, 82% chance of rain to start, within 10 minutes going down to 50%, and then overcast in 15 minutes. So we're looking, you know, first half of the race that there's going to be rain coming down onto the track. How much of it's going to stay on the track, we don't really know, but it does look like the track's going to be quite cold, and in fact, our air temperature right now during qualifying is quite low, only 17 degrees out there.
Interesting. Well, let's see what the drivers are doing. We're going to go on board with Kev Genetics. He has not set a valid lap time just yet, but he's going to go again here on the second lap through the tricky left-hander of Hugin Holtz. Comes out of the hairpin, gets the traction down very nicely, and now it's through Hunserg, and I'm going to slaughter the rest of these names. Don't you worry, guys. I'm going to do the best I can to do the best I can. Slot Maker going through to Shrivalek. The right-hander, turn 7. Now it's into turn 8, the Masters corner. Into turn number 9, the slower right-hander.
And HD Storm is round. And I think that's the end plate, and pulling into the pits by the look of it.
Yes, that was HD Storm who was round. But we're going to go ahead and keep an eye on Kev Genetics going into the heartbreaking corner of Audi. It's a 48.7 middle sector, nothing purple, but Kev just needs to get a time on the board here as he comes out of Hans Urst and now into Kumho and into Luyendijk. The last right-hander with the banking less than what you'll see in Indianapolis, that's for sure, but still a lot of banking nonetheless. As he crosses the line with a 1:10.2. That's a very fast time considering he invalidated his first lap and had to do multiple runs on that set of soft tires. Kev Genetics up into 4th. With 11 minutes to go as well, Tipster. So I think these names, these corner names, I'm just going to keep slaughtering. But, you know, I'm going to need my Dutchy friends to correct me, or I'll have to show them the stream back and let them yell at me afterwards. But it's okay, because we're here in the Netherlands. It's going to be a fun race, even though, you know, like we said, overtaking might be hard to come by. However, we usually get some really good racing here considering, so I think we will be okay. Speaking of being okay, Jan Fehler, after being the benchmark at the start of the session, is beginning his second flying lap right now. We're going to keep an eye on that. He's only 34 thousandths of a second off of pole position, and he does a 24.333, which is over a 10th quicker through Sector 1. Can he keep the pace? He's got a little bit of traffic coming up. Got an AlphaTauri that's going to get right out of the way, go right off the track for him. And now what can Fehler do through turns number 9 and 10 as he finishes his middle sector? Will he improve? We have a slow Alfa Romeo going into the penultimate corner, but he's got up to speed, and Fehler carries on. It is a 48.5. He's a 10th and a half up, so that's 2/10 quicker than we saw Kev do. He was a 48.7, that was a 48.5. But now out of Hans Urts, he's just got Kumho and Luyendijk left to go here. Can the German driver put it back on provisional pole? I mean, we still have half the session to go, but it's looking good so far for Fehler, our defending champion, current points leader. Is a 109.7. Wow, as Spearworth retires from the session as Alfa Romeo just loses it under braking into Hugenholtz. And unfortunately, his day is done. He will start no higher than 14th as Failer found a 10th and a half through the final sector there to put it on provisional pole. But Maestro Hoffy is now on an out lap and looking to charge right back up to the top.
Yeah, and it looks like a lot of our drivers are coming out now, including F1 Racer, who is on their hot lap right here. Currently in 5th, needs about 5/10 to knock Failer off their podium spot, but slower through Sector 1 by about 2/100ths of a second there. Needs to really get the pedal down during Sector 2. Very wide line, probably because there's a lot of traffic out on track at the minute, and it's not that wide a circuit. And in fact, slower through Sector 2 still, 5/100ths of a second slower. Really needs to gain the time here through Sector 3.
Might get a little bit of tow from this Alpine up ahead. He might be too far away. Oh, but no, he gets the dirty air. Kept it valid, but that is certainly, that lap ruined. F1 Racer will probably just cross the line, see what he does here. Yeah, it's a 1:10.2. No improvement for our second place driver in the championship standings. What about Maestro Hoffy? Hoffy's a 10th and a half up through the first sector. It wasn't purple, but it was a 24.4. Failer was a 10th quicker through the first sector, but he found a 10th and a half on his previous best. So Hoffy maybe running a little bit of a different setup to what Failer is, finding time in different parts of the track. Maybe he can find a little bit more here through Sector 2 now as he quickly comes towards the end there. Gets a little bit of tow from the Mercedes, swoops to the left, and now into Audi. He's a 10th and a half up. He still needs to find an extra 10th here through the final sector. Can Hoffy do it? Can he put his car back on provisional pole? The Haas number 28 car, as Kev Genetics has disconnected. We're going to have to get him back in here as quickly as possible. But Hoffy through Lewandijk now flat out. Shortest run to the line, hugging the right-hand side. Does he take provisional pole back? He does not. He went purple in the final sector, but he is now 34 thousandths of a second behind Failer, which was surprisingly the same exact gap that he had over Failer prior to their second runs. How about that?
How about that indeed? And we're just trying to get Kev Genetics back in here.
Yep, I sent him another invite as well.
Oh, you've got it. Okay, right, fantastic.
No, we might as well just hit him with all the invites. We want to, you know, if he keeps disconnecting, he might have to retire. But we're at least going to give him a shot here in qualifying. He's known to have some troubles, but it's usually not too bad. Barring, about 1 or 2 races. But that's okay. Meanwhile, while we were talking there, Krusix put himself up 3rd, and his teammate, They Call Me Ace, just put it on provisional pole. So the Aston Martins are flying right now up at the front, 1st and 4th. They Call Me Ace with a 1:09.754 with an absolutely magnificent lap, but Jan Failer is about to start his next lap, so we're going to keep an eye on him. Matty 29 up into 5th after his previous run, where he invalidated on the in-lap. The Borner up into 8th, Galaxy in 10th. Not a lot of movers. We have Lucas Eduardo, who's currently on the mediums. Very interesting run or decision by the Brazilian. Looks like he's maybe trying to save a set of softs for the race, Tipster. Maybe he thinks the rain will go long and he can just run softs to the end, and with him having potentially a fresh set of softs and his rivals not, that could be huge later on in the race.
Indeed it could, and I mean, this is the thing with the rain. It is slightly unpredictable as Failer goes 200ths faster through Sector 1, coming around the Alpha Tauri there and into Vodafone Bocht. Taking a very neat and tidy line there, making sure not to mount the curb because that will spin you out around Zandvoort as the Borner crashes out of the session just at the end of Sector 1. It looks like Failer's on for a good time here. Fastest Sector 2 of the session so far, a 24.1. So this, for pole position right now, comes across the line in a 9 thousandths slower than their previous time. 9 thousandths slower.
Sector. So he must have had a magnificent final sector last time around. Maybe he lost a little bit of time through Audi and Hans Ernst. But that is going to be it. That's his final set of fresh softs. So I don't think Failer's going to be able to improve unless he goes again on a used set of soft tires, but that is advantage Aston Martin. The Boyner, meanwhile, spinning out in the same exact spot as where Malkian did early on in the session. However, he couldn't keep it out of the wall, and unfortunately, his qualifying session is over.
Tisu coming across the line now, by the way, is on a stormer of a lap, moving up to 6th with a 1:10.1.
Good lap by the Alpine driver, putting it up into 6th. 2-lap-old tires, mind you, so he might still have another set. I don't believe he is one of the ones on his final set right now, but that is a very respectable starting position. But everyone else is getting ready for their final runs. We have Krusix out on track right in front of TC right now on his out lap for his final run. Now, like I said before, you know, assuming we start on inners, all right, so they're all going to have to start, you know, they'll start all the intermediate tires. One thing we need to keep tabs on, who still has fresh softs during the race, because I know from experience around this track, you can do, I mean, if you're really bold, you can do up to 20 laps on the softs here. Now, obviously, the last 5 or 6 laps, it's not going to be ideal, but the drop-off is, you know, while it's slightly worse than the mediums, the pace difference isn't too bad. You could run those softs for over half of the race, make it to the end. Now, if drivers get to the halfway point on inners and then it dries up, you know, why not run the softs? And the question is, who's going to have the fresh set and who will not? And whoever has the fresh set at the end will be with the advantage. Now, speaking of the advantage, final runs beginning now, starting with Krusix. KevGenX a little farther up the road in 7th, along with F1 Racer. So keep an eye on them. Yellow flag in Sector 1. That is a slow Maestro Hoffy by the looks of it. Another guy who was moving up the grid, Davies, moving up into 9th on his previous run. Didn't get a chance to mention him, but a little farther up the road, keep an eye on his teammate. KevGenX F1 Racer has backed out of his lap.
KevGenetics, though, is improving, in fact. Was a 10th up through Sector 1 as they come across the Sector 2 line. Let's see how much they're progressing. 1.5 tenths, and that's a purple Sector 2 for them as they come into Audi S and Kummelbocht.
We're going to figure this one out eventually.
We will figure this one out, and that is that camber we were talking about, really leaning the weight on the right tyres there as they come across the line and go 4th with a 109.881.
A very impressive lap there by the Mercedes driver.
Hundredths behind Maestro Hoffy there. And KevGenetics, I don't think they're going to be underfueling the car this time round after what happened last race.
Yeah, I saw at the end of that. I mean, he definitely will not. Krusix, meanwhile, invalidated his lap, so he's going to go again. He's got enough time and enough fuel. Meanwhile, Maestro Hoffy, is on his lap now. He invalidated on his previous run. He is 73 thousandths of a second up on this time. He's right now, that would, if he can just match his Sector 2 and Sector 3, that would put him on pole. But Failer is back out on track on what I assume is an old set of tires. I don't believe that he has a fresh set left, but keep an eye on the German driver. So as they call me Ace, who's currently on provisional pole. Matty 29 ducks into the pits. The Red Bull driver will not improve on his lap. His session is over. He will not start higher than 6. F1 Racer invalidated his second run, which was a 109.9. But will he go again? Does he have the tires, and does he have the pace? It's looking like he might have backed off a little bit. Not sure there. We have a slow Mercedes. That is Davies. Meanwhile, looking back up, Maestro Hoffy's coming out of the final corner. He's improved by 0.2, and Maestro Hoffy's on provisional pole with a 109.6. Do Ace and Failer have an answer? Let's take a look. Failer is improved by 64 thousandths of a second through Sector 1, but is it going to be enough? Krusix a little farther up the road with 6 seconds down through the middle sector, so he will not improve on this lap, but it's looking like he might go for a 3rd attempt here. So Krusix gonna really gun it on these somewhat worn tires. Failer, meanwhile, actually lost time in the middle sector. He's down on his previous best. Ace
sure doing the same as well, is about a 10th down on their previous lap as they come into the final turn here. And the checkered flag is out, so we're getting our final times through now as Ace does not improve and will stay second for now, but a clean 3rd sector from them. KevGenetics currently in 4th.
So Ace actually improved a 10th on his lap. He had a purple final sector, but it was not good enough to take back pole position. F1 Racer has bailed on his lap. So did Jan Failer. We have Galaxy crossing the line right now. No, he will dive back into the pits and will not improve. Next across the line will be Lucas. Not sure what kind of lap he's on, but he just invalidated, so he will start no higher than 15th. Behind him is Maestro Hoffy, who's on an in lap. Then we have Malkian, who's currently not looking. He's not on a push lap either. That brings
Krusix just invalidated.
Krusix
oh my God,
invalidated again. Oh no, Krusix invalidated.
And it was an improvement as well. It wouldn't have been enough to give them 4th, but it was an improvement. Our-Mate is the only one left out on track to set a time as they come across into the final couple of corners.
He is down though. He is already a second back, and he has turned off his battery. And that is curtains on the session. Maestro Hoffy in his Haas on pole position here in the Netherlands. They call me ace. Alongside him in second, Failer in third, Kev Genetics in fourth, rounding out the front 2 rows.
Yes, and let's take a look at that grid. We have
Krusix
a problem with my tracking.
You're good. I'll run through it. Krusix in 5th, Maddie 29 in 6th, Tisu in 7th, F1 Racer in 8th, Davies in 9th. Good job by the Czech driver, and the Boyner rounding out the top 10. Our-Mate, this is the best of the rest in 11th, Carlos in 12th, Galaxy in 13th, Mulkey in 14th, Lucas in 15th, Spearworth in 16th. I saw we had some fans in the chat for him. Unfortunately, he only starts 16th. Sky Kartoffel in 17th, and HD Storm rounding out our 18 drivers here today. It's going to be a good one, that's for sure, with Maestro Hoffy on the front row. Can Hoffy get his 2nd win in a row? Can he possibly put himself in position to get 3rd in the Drivers' Championship? I mean, he could even in theory get nagged 2nd if F1 Racer stays down where he is. But F1 Racer knows he needs to run down Failer. He cannot let Failer beat him here, because 17-point gap. He needs to close it up, and Failer, starting up towards the front, definitely has the upper hand. But we'll see what happens going into Tarzan when we begin this race here. And there's the rain. Oh, that is way too much rain for it to be dry tires, that's for sure, Tipster. It is pouring, and someone is accidentally immediately readied up into the session, so I'm sure they didn't get a chance to underfuel their car, because you can definitely run a little bit later on the fuel around this track, especially with the rain. So we'll have to see what everyone does for strategy, but that is a lot of rain and a lot of puddles also as well on track and in the pits.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if our drivers opt for the wets or the inters here with some of the surface water out there. I'm assuming people are going to go inters because it's going to start drying up fairly quickly.
Yeah, it's looking like green sidewalls on all the cars. It is inners time. Not a single driver is not on the inners. So everyone on the intermediate tires. It's level playing fields now. We don't know. I mean, you assumed, what did you say, about close to half the session should have a wet track, but when it goes dry, we are not sure. Now, the question is, will anyone be bold and try to run soft at the end of the race? Because, frankly, track position is going to matter the most around here. You know, you can't really run a two-stopper if, say, you pit on lap 9 or 10 for dries. You don't really want to run a two-stopper. It just makes more sense to put on a medium or the hards even and go to the end. But Tipster, how do you think it's going to go?
So, looking back at our weather center now, we're looking 50% chance of rain 10 minutes in. 15 minutes, that chance goes down to 28. So we are looking for the rain to go away at about 15 minutes in. But, you know, that doesn't mean the track will be dry enough for softs at that point. Bearing in mind that it is quite cold out there. It's only 20-degree air temperature, only about 26 on track. So we'll probably get a few more laps out of it. I reckon we're going to lap 14 or 15 on the inters.
Thank you very much, Tipster. That would put us only about a third of the race through. A little bit outside of that window where I said for softs and what the max they can do. So interesting to see what strategies get pulled here. Who can make the inners work. We also didn't pay attention to who was running maybe a wet setup in qualifying. Although I'd definitely gamble on the fact that everyone's on a dry setup here today. But we'll have to wait and see as the grid begins to form. It's a very short run into turn number 1 here to start this race, so it's going to be interesting to see who gets the jump. We know Failur's a very good starter, but he's only on the second row in third, but can he jump both Ace and Hoffy off the line? We'll have to wait and see as we have a slow lowering Alpine getting to his grid box. He'll be the last one. That is, I believe, Carlos. Yes, that is Carlos as he is into his grid box. We're getting ready to go here in the Netherlands, in Zandvoort, by the beach. A very rainy day it is starting out to be right now, but the lights are on, and we are getting ready to rumble here in Zandvoort as their lights are out and is racing. Very good start by Hoffy. Ace covering the inside. Failure kind of stuck behind the two of them. Alpine shoved very deep. That's Tisu, who broke the 50-meter board as he got shoved a little bit off the track. Elbows getting out early on as he tried to go for a move that I don't think ever was going to work out. They've kind of single filed out. He's trying to go up the inside of Matty 29, which could cost him a position to F1 Racer along the outside, or is he going to actually get a move on Matty? I don't know, but he gives F1 Racer a very big squeeze as he holds on to 7th position. They're going double file in the background. You can see it's mostly calm. Everyone's getting through rather nicely. A little bit more battling down the order. Lucas almost getting into the gravel. That was very, very dangerous by the Brazilian driver, who's struggling a little bit as Carlos is looking to go up his inside through turn number 9, and they're going to go side by side in the back, double file through most of the remaining grade. But all up at the front, it is as it was. Maestro Hoffman leading right in front of Ace, not by much though, mind you. There is not much separating these two drivers at the start of the race, with Failure dropping off already over a second and a half behind the race leader.
Yeah, our biggest win. Oh,
go for it.
Our biggest winners on lap 1 there. Galaxy and Lucas both gaining 2 places. Tisu also gaining a place as well. As they start to come across the line for the first time. Maestro Hoffy up in front. Ace following behind and gaining.
Gaining a lot indeed. Yeah, the biggest losers were Malkian and Carlos, only losing 2 positions, so pretty solid first lap. Not much chaos, knock on wood. We'll see how the rest of this race plays out. But yeah, it's looking like Failure not having the pace as these guys have come early on, maybe saving a little bit of battery there. Captain Eggs also falling off a little bit there. We have a little gap forming between the Pointer and Davies as well, with Davies trying to keep up with the Pointer. He's got Galaxy arming, and then it looks like Lucas is starting to get his feet underneath him behind the Red Bull of Army. Then at the back we have HG Storm and Sky Kartoffel rounding out our top 10. I do not remember the pit delta that is around here, and frankly that is going to be different with it being in the rain. However, 9 seconds drift from the lead is certainly inside of that delta. So at the moment, as it is, the field is starting to spread out pretty quickly, with the front 2 starting to check out. Failure kind of in no man's land, following or ahead of a train of cars, rounding out most of the points paying positions as it was. Big DRS trains forming, although DRS will stay disabled until the stewards deem it dry enough on track. They call me Ace goes purple with a 120.2 as him and Maestro Hoffy continue to stretch their advantage up at the front here on lap 3 out of 36. Now you're saying 15, what was the time? 15, 20 minutes into the race it should dry up?
So 15 minutes is when we're expecting the rain to stop. So, you know, between 10 and 15 minutes from now. And then, obviously, it's going to take time for the track to actually dry up enough for the softs to, for the dries to actually be effective. As that's Malkian round, luckily managing to keep it out of the barrier. And it looks like no lasting damage there, but that's going to really nip any of their plans in the bud for the rest of the race. So yes, I was saying about lap 15 we're expecting to go to the dries.
So I did a little bit of math there. If 15 minutes would actually put us exactly at lap 15. However, you said 10 to 15 minutes, so it might start to ease up a little earlier. You might see a little bit of gamblers on a few laps prior.
The thing is that each lap is about 1:20 at the moment, right?
Yeah.
By the way, the only thing really holding Ace back here from overtaking Hoffy, they've got the pace. They are, in fact, gaining on them each lap. The only thing is position. They just need the track position here. They just need to make the move. As Failer also pulls back 4/10 on that group as well. I've lost my train of thought now.
I mean, I was looking on the strategy. I think I agree with you. There's not really enough straight to make the overtake. He just can't get a good enough run out of Lewandijk because of the banking, because of the weather, and he does not have DRS. So by the time he gets to Tarzan, he's just not close enough to make the move. He does look like he is the faster car right now, but that's the thing. The weather making it a lot trickier to overtake around here, and frankly, might as well use your battery, not burn it too much, because yeah, saving battery in here in the dry is easier than it was on the previous game, but it's still not the best. I mean, it could be better, it could be a lot more lenient like at other tracks, but you know, you're gonna need that battery, and frankly, he's probably looking at it right now, looking at more at the bigger picture, just letting Mr. Hoffy over push his car, or at least that's when he's going through his head. He's thinking, all right, let Hoffy push really hard, and then I'll just save my stuff for when he starts to burn out. However, Hoffy, for all we know, could just be like, all right, I'm cruising right now, not pushing too hard. So we'll have to see how it plays out here on lap number 5. The rain not really lightening up, but a little bit of a dry line is starting to form, at least a racing line. But I wouldn't really call it a dry line. Definitely still enters conditions out on track. Failer still a second behind, but Hoffy starting to stretch a little bit. Maybe Ace deciding, all right, I'm going to back off a little bit here. But the gap between Kev and Failer slightly increased on the last lap, but everyone else behind kind of keeping in tabs with each other, with the exception of F1 Racer, who lost about a half a second to Tisu up ahead the last time around. So not much movement throughout the field other than monkey and spin early on, which, you know, unfortunate to see happen, but surely he's going to be hoping for a safety car.
Yeah, I mean, given the conditions, it's quite likely, to be fair, especially with some of them having some difficulty with the rear end. If we go to spear width right now, they're trying to get their nose in on Carlos as they're coming round into Hunsund bot. We're going to butcher the names. We're really sorry if anybody from the Netherlands is watching. As Maestro Hoffy is getting faster still.
I think the track might be starting to dry up ever so slightly. Rain is still coming down, that's for sure. It is not soft time at all. But that's multiple laps that's gone purple, so the track's definitely improving.
It is, and it may just be that there's, you know, a dry line forming, as we can see, and the rain does look like it's lightening up a little bit. It definitely looks.
That was a huge save by Spearboard there. We turned the camera to him after you were talking to him, and he just absolutely Tokyo drifted out of Hugenholtz and kept it going in a straight line. That was very impressive by the Alfa Romeo driver, but carry on.
And that's what I mean by the rear end here, is that, oh, as I say that, they call me Aces Round! And and has magically reset to track right in the path of Failer, so they've dropped down to 5th behind their teammate Krusix, and that gives Hoffy a lot of breathing space, 2.5 seconds almost back to Failer. Hoffy, I mean, a little bit of Schadenfreude there, I think, from Hoffy.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely a game changer. Now, one thing I was going to mention, maybe the times are improving because of the fact that this track started more of a wet state, but it does look like it is really starting to dry up out there. The rain might have just stopped, actually, on my screen. I think the rain did just stop.
I think the rain has just stopped, yeah, which is surprising. Yeah, it does mean that those tyres are going to start degrading faster. Speaking of tyre deg, I mean, obviously the inters are gonna last for a considerable amount of time, but we think they're at about 85% of their full kind of capacity right now.
Yeah, I would agree on that one. In the background, F1 Racer having to defend from the Borner. This is nice, going side by side through Masters and out through turn number 9. The Borner looking to make the move on the Ferrari, but he's going to have the outside line through turn number 10, which is going to be hard to make it stick, but can he get a switchback going? No DRS just yet, as F1 Racer hangs on to the position, but the Ferrari really struggling this stage in the race on lap 7. But yeah, definitely way too far out to go softs to the end. Even mediums might be pushing it, so this is going to be really interesting. It's probably drying up a lot sooner than some of these drivers might have hoped for. You know, so going to the end is going to be tricky.
Well, I'll tell you who you should keep an eye on for pushing it for tyre strategy, and that's F1 Racer, who...
As Tisu's into the wall.
Gone!
He's into the wall and gone
and that
as
is a full-blown safety car.
Multiple cars diving into the pits immediately. However, the safety car will come out of the pits behind Hoffy. So that should be good. Tisu retiring from the session after crashing coming out of Lewandijk. So that is huge. Multiple cars already into the pits, but let's look at the tire compounds. We have Galaxy, Lucas, Veerworth, all of them putting on the mediums. HD Storm going for the hards. But this will be interesting. The track should dry up a little bit more during this caution, but this kind of completely isolates anyone gambling and going long, or really watching the unfortunate sliding around on those dry tires on a wet track, because it should be a little bit better now at this stage. But the question is, how much can Galaxy and Lucas maybe jump a few cars now that the safety car is out and they're on track, because they might get released to go full throttle and not be held by the delta like everyone else is currently. By the time the drivers start to pit. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, as it stands, Maestro Hoffy out in front, and that breathing space that was there moments ago is just gone into thin air with that safety car. Failer's going to be right behind them. Then it's Kev Genetics in third, who was making good time on Failer before the safety car come out. Then it's the two Aston Martins of Krusix and They Call Me Ace that we saw earlier battling for the lead and unfortunately just spun it. Then it's Matty, F1 Racer in 7th, and I'm intrigued that F1 Racer hasn't made the call here.
Hoffy stayed out.
Hoffy stayed out as well.
Hoffy stayed out. I don't know if that's the right call. They Call Me Ace also just stayed out, and so does the Borner. No, Carlos stayed out. So they're thinking it's not dry enough. I'm not going to switch onto dries just yet. Everyone else, which I think is the right call, is switch onto dry tires, deal with the
Sky Kartoffel also staying out as well on the inters.
Does he get failure though on pit exit? This is huge. Sky Kartoffel
yes, they do.
Does get failure. All right, so there's a 4-car buffer between Maestro Hoffy and Failure. Captain X disconnecting from the session. He'll have to get back here as soon as possible because he is running in 6th position right now. But wow. Okay, let's see how this goes. Kev's car is completely dead stopped on track. That is heartbreak, actually. His car is showing being in the pits. Oh no, poor Kev.
Oh,
this is not good.
This might be similar to the bug we had the other day, where a car had just dead stopped outside.
And he got
the pits.
disqualified.
Oh my goodness.
Kev Genetics on lap 9 is out of the race. He disconnected from the session. His car stopped on track, and he has been disqualified. HD Storm, meanwhile, has spun it right in front of where Kev got disqualified. But Kev Genetics, who was running so well in 6th position, is out of this Grand Prix.
That is an absolute crying shame there.
And Hoffy and Ace are into the pits now as well. They are going to lose a lot of positions here, but it looks like Sky Kartoffel stays out. Carlos into the pits. Failer and Krusix really struggling right now to keep up with the safety car queue. But I don't know what was going through Hoffy's head and Ace's head. I mean, the track was drying up. You knew it was going to dry up. Why stay out an extra lap? I don't like that move, but now they're clearly going to lose a ton of positions. Oh, we have a Red Bull round. That is Matty completely losing it in turn number 1, trying to get ahead of Maestro Hoffy on pit exit. As a result, he's going to lose multiple positions as he gets going, as everyone who just passed him might get told to let him through. But Matty 29 losing out. The track is certainly not just ready for dry tires, so it makes sense why you would stay out for the inners, but I think it's going to be good enough as Davies gets a 5-second time penalty for ignoring yellow flags. I think it's because he didn't let Matty back through. Not too sure about that, but Heartbreak for Kev Genetics retiring. Maddie29 spins round. Maestro Hoffy, our pole sitter, who is certainly the fastest car out on track, decided to pit a lap later along with They Call Me Ace, and now they're down at 5th and 7th respectively. And
well,
look
the
at
thing
that.
is, they're in 5th. Like, they took that pit late and they're in 5th. That's not as bad as we thought it was going to be fair. I think, yeah, you're right. The track is not ready for dry tires, and the spin that Matty just had there kind of proves it. I think Skycar Toffel might be able to pull a couple of laps here on the inters and be able to pull enough of a gap where their pit stop is not going to be kind of, it's going to be almost negligible.
Kev Genetics just rejoined the session. We're going to have to give him the
Oh my
heartbreaking news
goodness.
that his AI decided to disqualify him from the Grand Prix. That is heartbreak. That is heartbreak. I'm so sorry,
Right.
Kev. If you're listening back to yeah, that is just, you know, I mean, I can only imagine what's going through his head rejoining the session. He's probably thinking,
Oh, R8 is dropping down the order.
Is he? He lost it, but he's driving back through again. So he's going to have to overtake some people, maybe even his teammate as well. Maddie's looking like he's slowing up for Armate. Carlos has left this session. Not sure yet. Kev Genetics just messaged me DSQ, so I'm going to have to respond to that real quick. Yeah, that is... I don't even know. I don't know what to say.
It's just it's really unfortunate when that happens and a bug in the game causes it just ruins someone's race. And I mean, we've seen it a couple of times before with, you know, people being stopped in the pit lane for ridiculous amounts of time.
Safety car in this lap. Now, HC Storm and Malkin have not caught up to the queue, and I think it's because they're struggling on their tires. I think a lot of these drivers were hoping that the safety car would stay out longer to help the track dry up, but Kev Genetics is messaging me. He's certainly upset about the DSQ. I do not blame him. Krusik's going really slow at the front of the queue. He's dropped off of Failure. Not sure what's happening there, why he's really backed off as much as he did. But yeah, we're getting ready to go green. Sky Kartoffel gonna lead the way on his inners, which still might be the better tire at this stage. He is gone. Green flag, go, go, go. Krusix looking to make the move on Jan Failer as they cross the start-finish line. They're side by side on the mediums. Krusix breaks much later into Tarzan. Goes around the outside. Failer's got the inside line. Krusix gets a better exit, and Krusix is through into P2 and what will be the net race lead, as these guys do not have to pit again. That's a yellow flag at the back. That is, I believe, Lucas dropping down the
Lucas has lost their front wing. It's gone.
Yeah, a lot more damage than just the front wing. Looks like a little bit of side pod damage as well. Oh, there's a big wreck! That is, I think, Spearworth and Armate both into the wall. More cars without front wings. It is just chaos out there. Armate without a front end plate. Spearworth without his car as well. The Borner dropping down the order as well. He's off the track through Masters and now into turn number 9. So a lot of cars struggling on this very tricky track. F1 Racer, meanwhile, side by side with his championship leader. This is for second. Another car is off the track. Skycar Toffel's down into 7th. So his tires completely lost their edge, and now he's going to tumble way down the order. F1 Racer, meanwhile, though, watching from the helicopter cam, trying to get through, and Jan Failer. Krusik has already gotten 2 seconds on these two as a result, and things have just completely turned up on their heads. Sky Kartoffel's tires just stopped working mid-lap. He lost positions. The border went off. A bunch of cars took damage, and Krusik goes purple with a 1:16.9. The track has certainly dried up at this point here, Tipster. As Sky Kartoffel into the pits we go. No DRS just yet, as Galaxy sneaks up the inside of Carlos, and he's into 6th position.
Yeah, Maestro Hoffy also making the move on Carlos there up to 4th. As They Call Me Ace pulls into the pit lane and gets a 5-second penalty for their trouble.
He has a wing change as well. So
yeah.
He was racing near the border. Maybe there was some kind of contact, but a lot of cars having to get wing changes and dropping down the order. Actually, HD Storm now running in 11th. He was way off all the way in the back, and that was picked up a handful of positions due to all of the drivers having to pit. But up at front, it is Cruisex. Malkin goes purple. So yeah, it is now dry tires time here, Tipster. And certainly, I feel bad for Sky Kartoffel.
I do, and I think a lot of what we saw at the start of that lap was just the tyres being cold. Like, they hadn't had chance to warm up the tyres properly because the track temperature's not there. There's not any rubber on track because it's been raining. And ultimately, that means the grip's gone as Carlos makes the pass on Maestro Hoffi in the final turn. And I believe we're about to get DRS.
Maddie's into the
yes,
pits.
DRS is active this lap.
Maddie's into the pits. He also needs a nose change. I don't see any visible damage with Maddie. Tire and nose change as well. So is Spearworth into the pits as well. So a lot of drivers damaging their car. The sun is out. The track has dried up, I believe, completely, but I didn't see, was DRS enabled? I didn't see the notification. It was. Okay.
DRS
Right.
is live this lap.
DRS is live. Failer does not have it to help him defend from F1 Racer. He's got a half second to close up. Meanwhile, Carlos able to re-overtake 4th position from Hoffi, who I think just had a really bad come-home corner and allowed Carlos to get through Lewandijk. Galaxy in 6th, so the Haas team definitely having a good race here. Not as good as Failer up in 2nd, but being helped by HD Storm, only being in 9th place and under a lot of pressure here. But the top 5 all running pretty close together. Galaxy trying to get back into DRS range of his teammate. Davies dropping off a little bit more with the Borner, who's now back up into 8th position after his off. The Williams driver with a nice recovery considering half of the field has essentially had a pit for a new front wing since this restart. Speaking of an overtake, the Borner using his DRS advantage on Davies is just going to speed right past into 7th position. It takes his Williams beautifully past his engine supplier's car in the Mercedes, and now the Borner up into 7th, Davies down into 8th.
And up towards the front, Failer starting to close that gap, gained 3/10 on Crew 6 that last lap, so he's going to be within striking distance, probably within the next 2, as it looks like they've burnt quite a bit of battery to catch that up.
Yeah, they have. Failer's down to 42% right now. As you can see, he burns the overtake a little bit more on exit of turn number 10, now into Audi and Hans Ernst. He's still outside of DRS range. Now, what kind of battery situation are we looking at? Crew 6 as we run aboard 84%. So Failer doing everything he can to get that DRS. F1 Racer, meanwhile, just letting DRS pull him along. He's got more than Failer, more battery left than Failer in the tank. Carlos behind down to 43%, and Maestro Hoffi with 57. So the DRS train has formed. Failer trying his best to catch up to Crew 6, but Crew 6 right now has enough battery that, you know, if Failer gets too close, he can just deploy a little bit of it and keep Failer at bay, which could cost Failer in the long run if he just doesn't have enough battery to use to help him defend from F1 Racer behind. We'll have to wait and see. It's only lap 16 of 36. His drivers certainly are going to try to go to the end on these medium tires, which really only have about 4 racing laps on them. So that is going to be 24 laps on the mediums for racing, you know, probably maybe 1% away from the safety car conditions, but that's okay. 24 laps on the mediums should be doable, but they'll definitely be feeling it with the last 10 laps of the race. So it'll be who can manage their tires, who can run very well here. But as it stands, Crew 6 leads from Failer, from F1 Racer, and Carlos looking to get a podium here. Now, looking at Carlos's record, he has one top 10. This is his second start of the season. He had a top 10, 10th place at Hungary. So Carlos is the reserve driver looking to get not only his best points finish of the season, his first podium of the season, currently running in 4th position. So great job by the Alpine driver here, subbing in today, who is with that top 5 that I've completely checked out from the rest of them, as Galaxy is now over 3.2 seconds behind his teammate Maestro Hoffi.
Yep, and the Borner is actually gaining considerably on Galaxy here. 8/10 last lap, 3/10 this lap, so expect some action between them on the next time down the back straight, as Davis is coming up behind them as well, just 7/10 back. Up towards the front. Well, we've got 3 or 4 packs here, haven't we? We've got our front pack, then we've got kind of our mid-pack Galaxy back to Davis, and then it's Sky Kartoffel and everybody else.
Yeah, Sky Kartoffel has currently got a little bit of train behind him, and HD Storm and Maddie 29 has run them down. We know that the Tyler driver is very quick, and we saw Sky Kartoffel and HD started at the back, so both of them running in the points, which hats off to them, but Maddie 29 probably recognizes that and it's thinking, all right, I need to get through these guys and I can get at least 2 points. And then, you know, after that, it's going to be, all right, can I maybe get lucky and get a couple more positions? Because 22 seconds is, I think, at this stage, impossible to close in without someone having a mistake and having to pit. So, go do for him. First things first, he's the third car to DRS train, which is the worst position to be in. But he's right up on the rear gearbox of HG Storm. Up at the front. The Warner did get DRS last time around on Galaxy down the front stretch, so that battle has heated up. They are now in a train as well. But Maddie29 coming through Lewandijk now. HG Storm still will get DRS here, but Maddie looking to make the move stick. HG Storm out of battery. Maddie, will he go for a late lunge here? He goes to the right side. No, he throws the dummy. Does not go for it. Storm does not buy it. And they hold position as Lucas has dove into the pits and retired from the session. The Brazilian driver picking up a 3-second time penalty, deciding I'm way outside the points. It's not worth my time, as he has opted to finish this race in the pit lane. That is 2 DNFs in a row and 3 in his last 4 races. Not what the Brazilian driver would like to hear. That is good news for Maester Hoff. He's currently running in 5th in the race. As it stands, he would close within 1 point of Lucas in the championship. If he can get 1 more position, he will jump up into the podium position for the Drivers' Championship on the season. Now watching at the battles as they unfold, Maester Hoffy still holding position. Galaxy still keeping the corner behind. Can Maddie maybe go for a move here on HC Storm? But Storm's a lot closer to Sky Kartoffel on this time around. He's also on a couple lap older tires. But, excuse me, we'll have to see if that actually plays into anything. As it goes, ooh, big tank stopper for Maddie coming out of Come Ho. He goes gun-ho, keeps his car going straight, and can he go for the move here, get back into the point. He's going to try to go around the outside of Tarzan. He brakes very late on the outside of the McLaren. The McLaren trying to give him the squeeze onto the curb, and Maestro Hoffy's into the wall! Maestro Hoffy has retired from the Grand Prix. It is a full-blown safety car. He's off into the wall at turn number 9. We didn't catch what happened, but it is heartbreak for our pole sitter. He was looking like one of the fastest cars on track, and he's going to walk away here with nothing as he's into the wall and out of this Grand Prix. Heartbreak for the Haas driver. And Carlos has left the session as well. Might have been a disconnect, but I wonder if there's any kind of contact between the two of them, because I know Hoffy was pressuring Carlos a lot. As F1 Racer dives into the pits for what I assume to be soft tires.
I'm absolutely speechless. Hoffy, starting on pole, was looking really good in this race, and I couldn't see what happened, whether there was contact or they just lost it, but a race to be over that quickly, and for someone who's, you know, like really running up there at the front, as Galaxy and the Borna come out on the softs, taking the opportunity of the safety car. I believe that Mulkian is going to be able to unlap themselves as well, which means we're going to have our full field of 14 all in a row. As everybody starts pulling into the pits, and R8 gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Heartbreak for the Red Bull driver, as that will have to be served. They called me ace, meanwhile up in 8th. Now I think the move is right to go onto the soft tires, but unfortunately F1 Racer went onto mediums. Now the medium, I mean, it's going to be faster than the older mediums, but I think you had to go on the softs here. I don't think going into mediums is going to work out for F1 Racing. With Galaxy and the Border behind you, they didn't have the pace to keep up with these front runners before, but on the fresh softs that can definitely get to the end of the stage, they're going to be flying. So look out for the other Haas driver and the Williams driver to get on the podium here as it stands now. Definitely surprised Carlos's AI hasn't dove him into the pits. It might do it here right now.
Oh, Carlos is back.
He's in his car just in time before the connection. That is because I had a feeling his AI was going to pit. Now, granted, you know, it might not have been a bad thing, but he probably, you know, he would have wanted to have pitted prior to catching up to the safety car, as he would have dropped down behind Davies and probably behind Ace, who's on old mediums. Now, Davies is on a fresh set of mediums. So that, again, I don't think the fresh set of mediums was worth your time here, because, I mean, yeah, even a slightly worn set of softs, I think it's just better to start on softs than it is on a fresh set of mediums at this stage. Kartoffel, Maddie, Spearworth, and Army all on fresh softs. So definitely the tires are going to come into play. Now, Ace staying out, I don't think was the right move because he's on older mediums. He's got everyone around him on fresh tires. I mean, he's really putting the gamble on himself, but he's got a 5-second speeding penalty. And I think he knows if he comes into the pits, he's going to have to serve that penalty. He's going to lose out more. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Armate into the pits. He's serving his penalty. So that's smart. Gets on a new set of softs, serves his penalty. Now he can go gung-ho to the end of the race. But heartbreak for Hoffy as Krusix leads the way. But Krusix, Failer, and Carlos, again, stayed out in the safety car. They're on 11 and 10 lap old mediums. However, I would argue that's only about 8 laps old mediums because we had a couple safety car laps in the rain early on when they put on those tires. So they should only be about 8 laps, 9 laps old, really. And then everyone else behind on fresh tires with the exception of Ace, with them being on a mix of mediums and softs with 15 to go when we cross the line here. Still under safety car, but we probably will get going for green at 14 to go as the rest of the field is catching up as it stands.
Well, news from the analysis team that, the mediums are looking to be at about 80% of their full wear at this moment in time. For the people up towards the front. So there's definitely potential there. It's just a case of, I think for a lot of the back runners, it's when do the softs drop off? When does the performance kind of reach that cliff?
I don't think it'll ever be as bad as the top 3 or even Ace right now on those like fresher or those older medium tires. We just saw Storm dive into the pits. He gave up his track position to put on a fresh set of softs. I think softs are the 100% move here as we will go green here at the end of this lap. I checked the race director. There was nothing on contact with Hoffy, so his DNF was all on his own by the looks of it, which is just that much more heartbreaking. He will not overtake Lucas. And as it stands right now, 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the championship have all disconnected or retired from the race. That means that Kev Genetics, as it stands, Maestro Hoffy, and if Failer can come away with a win, Lucas have all essentially been eliminated from the Drivers' Championship, making it a 2-horse race for the championship with F1 Racer 17 points behind Failer, but certainly with the advantage on 10-lap fresher medium tires. Safety car in this lap. They will have 14 racing laps to go. When they cross the start-finish line, Krusix will lead the way. He was looking mighty quick. He had a nice 1.5-second gap, was keeping the field behind. But now he's got a lot of cars on fresh tires behind. And he's going to have to work some magic here as the safety car still hasn't entered the pits. Krusix keeping up at a very quick pace, and he is gone. He is gone. We are back under racing here. Failer. A lot of cars coming under threat. F1 Racer trying to go around the outside of Carlos into turn number 1. This is for 3rd. We have the Haas into the wall. That is Galaxy, who might have just taken some damage there. He rode the curb and I think made contact with the wall. But F1 Racer is through on his fresh medium tires on Carlos. A lot more battling through. Sky Kartoffel and Spearworth battling it for 9th and 10th position. Alfa Romeo's going at it. The Red Bull's going at it of Armate and Maddie. No team orders throughout the field here as teammates battling it out. But up at the front, F1 Racer trying to pressure his championship rival and get up into 2nd from Jan Failer. The Borner up into 4th. And then look at this. Galaxy sending a late lunge on Carlos through turn number 9, trying to go around the outside through turn number 10. That is a bold move. And look at the tire advantage that those softs give over those old mediums. It is just absolutely enormous. He's able to go around the outside of turn number 10, which should not be doable, but he just did it. And so look out, everyone. Those soft runners are flying right now up the front. So the Borner and Galaxy looking like the fastest cars on the field right now. But they do have F1 Racer on those fresh mediums who might pose a challenge to them. But the Borner, look at this. He's gaining a lot down the front stretch. He's gaining, he's burning the battery. He might go for a lunge here. No, he stays behind. And in the background, the Davies is battling what they call Ace. No, sorry, Davies is trying to hold off Spearworth and Sky Kartoffel. Spearworth trying to go around the outside. Sky Kartoffel's into the wall! And Sky Kartoffel made contact with Matty 29. He is completely missing his front wing. He is round, and that is heartbreak for the Alfa Romeo driver who got into it. Elbows out with the Red Bull. No caution, just a yellow flag in sector 1. We stay green And it's heartbreak for the Alfa Romeo driver who was on those fresh softs. Back up the front, Krusix only has 4/10 of failure. He's not able to pull away on those old tires. The Borner, meanwhile, look at this. It's all over the rears. Carlos is disconnected from the session. The Alpine driver who was dropping like a fly down the order, disconnected from this session. And his AI will certainly cost him a few more positions. If the tire disadvantage wasn't enough, he's going to lose even more. Snockertoffel going nice and slowly through the middle sector as he does not have a front wing. And now, as they come out of Kumho and into Lewandijk, the leaders across the line, DRS will be enabled. We will have 12 laps to go. The Borner already trying to make the move on F1 Racer without the DRS. He's going to go up the inside. He's got a nose ahead. He's a full car ahead, and the Borner up into the podium position. Carlos somehow gets a purple lap, even though his AI was driving, so that's definitely glitched. But yeah.
Yep, that's, nope. That shouldn't be happening, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to have to do some investigating after the race.
His AI definitely lost time and lost him about 5 positions. So that definitely was not a fastest lap. So we're going to keep an eye on this, but the Borner is looking like he's in the driver's seat to maybe steal a race win. I don't know if we were thinking that at the start of the race, but the Borner right now in his Williams on the fresh softs. He's the 3rd car in that DRS string, so I mentioned it. That's the hardest place to be. But he's going to have to try to do something. He needs to clear failure. He's going to have a huge tire advantage. But the Borner has 0 points to his name. He's got 4 DNFs in his 4 starts this season. He gets the full-time drive, unable to race in 2 other races, and now he's on not only a chance for a good points finishing position for the first points of the season. He does go purple. They call me Ace goes faster, and the Borner goes up the inside of our championship leader into 2nd place. Wow. The Borner on the move on those fresh softs. We're going to re-invite Carlos in here again as he added me to his friends list. So I need to find his name real quick on it. And
well, while you're doing that, a little bit of a battle going on down that home stretch between They Call Me Ace and Galaxy. They Call Me Ace still seems to have considerable pace on those old mediums, to the point where they're actually giving Galaxy grief, getting the nose up the inside in some cases, as they come through the center of Sector 2 and into a Vodafone box and into the DRS zone. Galaxy and They Call Me Ace, DRS, both wide open, taking a very thin line through that corner, taking a little bit of sausage on the way out as well. As Carlos comes back, the Borner now just 4/10 off from the race lead, and 4/10 faster than the race lead last time round. This is definitely doable, especially with that DRS wide open going into turn 1, going
almost into the back of him.
Yeah, just it looked like they were going to try and make an attempt around the outside there. That's how much speed they were carrying through that corner.
He was really hot
but Nestle's in 2nd. Yeah.
As our timing delta has messed up a little bit. They Call Me Ace with the fast lap of 1:11.3. That's a really quick lap considering his old medium tires. So interesting to see how he is playing out for him. How's his battery looking? 14%. He's burned all of his battery to close back up. He's going to try to go for a late lunge on Galaxy up the inside. This is for 5th position. Galaxy gets very squirmy. He probably was not too happy about that as they're going to squeeze him. And oh, Galaxy is round. They Call Me Ace squeezes Galaxy on the apex, and Galaxy is round and is parked. Oh, he's beached it. He's stuck on the curb. Galaxy's got to have to reset the track here, which is perfectly okay. Otherwise, he will get disqualified. That is a full-blown safety car. There's the reset to track that we expected. But that's a full-blown safety car, and that completely isolates this race. I think the safety car is definitely valid there because he was beached on the apex of a corner and he was not ghosted. So that is definitely not reportable. I mean, there's nothing else he could have done there. But
there's no other way out of that. And you know, in an ordinary situation, you'd be able to get some torque underneath those tires and get out of it. But with how high some of these curbs are, it is perfectly possible for you to completely beat your car like that as they pull into the pit lane. And
he speeds up the pit for good measure, so he's probably going to want to pit again to get that penalty removed. He's not really going to lose much of a position as a result, but that is not ideal. The corner, this does save Krusix very much so. As the Borner is going to be isolated behind him. He'll lose a little bit of that fresh soft that he's going to lose. I mean, those old mediums are certainly going to be screaming, but it's going to be the third safety car that we've had. So, those mediums definitely being helped right now. The Borner in second. F1 Racer still stuck in fourth, probably regretting the decision not to put on softs, if I'm going to be honest. Because the pace around him was just insane.
Well, the thing is, F1 Racer was making some good time on Failure until the safety car came out. They were 4 tenths up in the previous two, each lap for the previous 2 laps. So they were getting ready to make the move there.
But unfortunately, the pace that the Borner had on those softs. Imagine if F1 Racer was the pace he's had all race long. Imagine if he was on those softs. I mean, he's certainly got to be kicking himself because, I mean, yeah, he had good pace compared to his rivals that on the old mediums. But, man, the Borner just literally made overtaking him look like easy.
I think it may have been a case of, I cut it a bit close last race, almost punctured it in the final lap. I'm playing it safe this time round, don't want a DNF. So it may... Last time at Kota may have actually scared them away from the softs at this race.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Galaxy into the pits. He's going to serve that speeding penalty now. Get that off his name. Probably put on another set of fresh softs, or slightly, at this point, it's definitely going to be going through the used softs from qualifying. But that is heartbreak for the Haas team, who had one driver on a course to essentially win this race, and another one in for a good points finish. Now Galaxy having to serve a penalty. Might even lose out of position to Sky Kartoffel if he's not able to get out of the pits quick enough here. Now Sky is going to dive into the pits, so he holds 13th. But the driver started on pole, ended in the wall with Maestro Hoffy. Galaxy now down in 13th after some really hard racing that they call me ace. I'll let you, the viewers, decide on what you think of that racing. I personally think enough space might have been left there, but I think that Galaxy expected Ace to not squeeze him on the apex there. And I mean, there definitely was some wheel banging prior to that, so Ace really giving the squeeze there. You know, definitely got the elbows out. We'd have to watch the replay of the onboards, but that was, the definitely very hard racing. From our POV, I think it looked fair, but I don't know. I'd have to rewatch their POVs because, I mean, there was barely enough space there in the corner. So, but
well, I mean, it might be that it goes to the stewards. That
I think
definitely to me that definitely seems like it's worth bringing up with the stewards because there's to the point where you're beached on the track. Oh, and Maestro Hoffy, by the way, letting us know that their pedals broke as they were going into the corner, and that's how they ended up in the wall. So very unfortunate technical failure.
That's even worse. That's even worse than it dropping on your own. I've had a technical DNF once. Was my wheel that decided to stop working. And that is the worst when you're like driving and having such a good race and all of a sudden you lose, not because you made a mistake, but because of something out of your control. You could argue that's the same deal with Kev Genetics, the game disqualifying him. It's up on that level where it's just like, that is just heartbreaking because think about it, Kev was also driving just as good and out of his control.
They call me ace, looking a little bit squirrely as they warm up their tires. Like they were drifting there. At points, I think those mediums are starting to show their wear at 16 laps in. Either that or they just didn't keep control of the car well through there. But I think They Call Me Ace is going to be someone to keep an eye on because they're going to be an indicator of what's to come for Crucix and Failer.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep an eye on it. I mean, Failer's, you know, Crucix is going to have to, I mean, he's probably looking at the Borner behind and thinking, okay, maybe I can keep him behind. But he just needs to make sure he keeps Failer behind. I think that's going to be more important. Failer, meanwhile, he's not looking in front of him. He's just looking in his mirror. He's got his championship rival behind. He needs to just get across this line with a decent finish, not lose out too much time to F1 Racer. As we do get the safety car in this lap, the lights are out, and we're getting ready to go green here. We will have 6 laps to go when they cross the start-finish line. Crucix will lead the way from the Borner, who's on 9-lap-old softs, which I've seen a couple of those laps underneath the safety car, so they should still have a mighty advantage over the car in front and behind him as the drivers getting their tires up to temp It's all Krusix. When does he decide to go? He's picking up the pace a little bit. He hasn't gone just yet, but now he has. And Krusix is taking us back to green flag. 6 laps to go. We have a Mercedes looking very feisty. They call me Ace going up the inside of F1 Racer. That's a bold move by the Aston Martin driver. It's not going to work out for him. He's looking really racy right now on those very old mediums. Very impressive stuff by the Aston Martin driver. But look behind him. Spearworth trying to get a little bit of, they call me Ace. He's now going to go to the left side of the track and go for the move on the Aston Martin driver, who has just a little bit more battery to play with and is going to hold on to the position. But Spearworth looking to get one of his best finishes of the season. He's already on track for points, so he just needs to hang on, and he will have himself a mighty good finish here. Ace, though, looking to make a lunge up the inside of F1 Racer. That is a little naughty. He's getting very, very aggressive here. But that opens the door for Spearworth up the inside of Ace, who's just going to be able to hang on to the position. Meanwhile, up at the front, the Borner still a half second behind, not getting the advantage that he wanted. Ace, though, really going for lunges here. Definitely a little bit of aggressive driving here, but that's okay as long as they don't make contact. But surely F1 Racer is going to be a little annoyed at that move through turn number 9. Either way, 5 to go when we cross the line. It's Krusix, Borner, Failer, F1 Racer, Ace, and Spearworth. Spearworth once again looking at having a piece of Ace going up the inside, but he's not brave enough under the brakes as Ace hangs it around the outside. Spearworth gets really good traction on the exit using those softs, but Ace stands onto the position. Behind him, Maddie 29, who's on those softs as well, is going to try to make the move on Davies. He's going to have him. He's up into 70 Italian. Nice recovery drive after having to pit for a wing change early on in the race. Up at the front, Krusix still hanging on, but the Borner's closing in. Can the Williams driver get his first points of the season and make those points be a race win? How would that be for the German driver who's just not had a good season? He pressuring for the potential race win. Galaxy makes a move on Carlos for 11th. He's trying to recover, get some points for the current Constructors Championship leaders. However, they will lose that lead to McLaren surely as it stands. The Borner losing a little bit of time, though, through the middle sector. 6/10 is the gap. DRS will be enabled next time around when they take 4 to go at the line. Oh, and the Ace is in the wall. The Ace completely lost it out of Lewandijk. His right part of his wing is completely destroyed, and the Aston Martin, who was looking so quick, just got a little too eager on the throttle, hit a little bit too much overtake, and ended his car up. His car ended up in the wall, and he's into the pit and having a nose change and out of the points. That is heartbreaking for the Aston Martin driver, Tipster.
It is indeed, but I mean, that's the thing with aggressive driving. One small mistake can just mean end of the race for you there, and they call me Ace is going to be so far back from the rest of the field at this point that I think they're out of contention here. HD Storm starting to, was making ground on Davis earlier, but R8 right behind them going up the inside as they took a wide angle. No pass there, not looking for it as Spearworth gets a 3-second penalty, which is going to be very costly with this late safety car that's happened.
Yeah, we're going to keep an eye on the penalty situation. Spearworth 3 seconds is going to drop him down with Galaxy in 10th. I mean, he's still on course for points. As it stands, he just needs to use that tire advantage. Now R8 trying to make a move on HD Storm. This is for 8th position. The Red Bull driver trying to go around the outside of the McLaren. Can he make it stick? They bang Leos a little locked together there. They're still side by side. They're still banging tires. R8 trying to go up the inside. Ooh, a little bit of contact on the apex of Hugenholtz, and on the exit through Hunsurg. It is R8 ahead of HD Storm. Now Galaxy trying to make the move on the McLaren. Speaking of making moves, the Borner is on the gearbox of Krusix. 2/10 between the two of them with 2.5 laps to go. Can the Borner find a way through? He's going to have 5 DRS zones to go before he takes the checker flag. Can he use one of those zones to make the move?
Contact between HD Storm and Galaxy as they go through the corner.
As HD Storm just sends it up the inside of Galaxy. That was certainly out of anger and aggression, and he has lost out big time there as he is round, and that opens up the door for Carlos on Galaxy, but Galaxy's going to have the better line through Audi and still have the inside for Hans Urs and stay ahead of Carlos here. But that was very naughty of HG Storm to just set it up the inside there. Might have been a little bit of an unintentional move he did there that we'll just let the stewards decide, but that was definitely very naughty of the McLaren driver. 2 to go here as the Borner not able to get the overtake here on Crucix Tipster.
No, and maybe they're just biding their time. In the battle between Galaxy and Carlos, by the way, we're being told Carlos has a small amount of front wing damage. So that's going to be kind of keeping them back. I mean, they were getting very close in the DRS zone, but they're having so much difficulty with some of these turns that they've in fact fallen back by 4/10 at this point. Up towards the front, though, the Borner closing the gap. Slowly but surely. Maybe they're waiting for the final lap to strike because they know how powerful that DRS zone is.
That is true. That could be very much possible. Yellow flag in Sector 2. Oh, that's Spearworth! No! It's the Alfa Romeo driver who's on track for his first points of the season. He is rounded out of the points. Heartbreak for the Alfa Romeo team as the reserve driver unable to capitalize on his great performance that he was putting together. But now, as the drivers come for the white flag, Crucix still has the gap. The Borner's out of battery. Look at that. Red light on at the back of that car. He's going to go for a move. No, Crucix just brakes later, and the Borner unable to make the move stick. Crucix might just have this in the bag on those old medium tires. The Borner not having an answer for the pace of Crucix leading the way. Failer holding on to third position in the podium, keeping his rival back behind an F1 racer, which is going to be a huge 3 points down the road. Look at the Borner, though, trying to get a run through Shivalak, and now he's really only got maybe 3 spots to go for an overtake here. But the Borner, he's going to have to do it without his battery advantage, and his tire advantage certainly is dropping off. He's got one more DRS zone here. Coming out of turn number 10, he's not going to be close enough to make the move on Crucix. He actually is going to fall a little bit of pressure behind a Failer as F1 Racer lags back a little bit. That's not too good. But the Borner still half a second behind Crucix. I don't think he's going to get there, and it's looking like Crucix just has to get through. Come Ho and Lewandijk one last time, and the Aston Martin driver is going to come out of the final corner, get redemption for last week, and he is going to win here at Zandvoort for the Dutch Grand Prix. The Borner is able to come home in second, Failer in third, F1 Racer in fourth, Maddie 29 in fifth, good drive by him and his teammate Armate in sixth, Davies in seventh, Galaxy is able to recover to eighth, Malkin in ninth, and Carlos finishes in 10th and rounds out our points paying positions here today in the Netherlands for the Dutch Grand Prix. What a finish there, Tipster.
What a finish indeed. I think one more lap and the Borner, I think the Borner was pushing to keep within range there for that final lap and just didn't have the battery in the end there. And Failer and F1 Racer, well, 2 championship rivals. I genuinely thought it was going to be tight towards the end, and well, a couple of tenths between them, which, you know, normally in a race would be a minor gap, but in this case where we had a safety car so late on, it's huge.
It is huge indeed. But Crucix does come home on top, gets his, I believe, his first win of the season. Yeah, first win of the season, his third podium. He's now finished on each of the spots on the podium, finally gets on the top step here, and Crucix comes home and wins here in the Netherlands. The Borner comes home in second after a fantastic drive. Failer in third, F1 Racer in fourth, and Mag 29 rounding out the top 10. We're going to go ahead and quickly get the race director here for anyone with stewards inquiries, which I would not be surprised if we had some after that race. Who is your driver of the day here, Tipster?
Oh my goodness, I think I've got to give it to the Borner. Absolutely astounding racing towards the end there, surging through the pack on the softs, and really giving us a show tonight.
I think I have to agree on that one. I think the Borner is going to have to be my driver of the day as well. I mean, he played his cards right with the strat. I mean, he had good pace in the first stint. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't race leading pace, but he was able to keep good pace and then he made the right strategy call. I mean, you look compared to him to F1 Racer. F1 Racer, put on the mediums, got a little scared not to put on the softs, went for the safer strategy, but in the end was not able to overtake his main rival in the form of Failure at the end of that race. The Boyner went for a more aggressive strategy on the softs. It paid off for him. He ends up on the podium. F1 Racer does not. So
I'm also gonna say this: Davis picking up the bonus point for fastest lap there in the top 10, by 4 thousandths of a second
how about that?
off our mate. Our mate is possibly no, it's a good job. They finished ahead, but 4 thousandths of a second from another point. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, no, I stand corrected. Matty takes the bonus point for fastest lap.
but
Uh,
still a very small gap there, nonetheless.
still a very small gap. And let's get those standings updated for you now.
Yep. While you do that, we'll go ahead and be ready for any post-race interviews that we get. Um, yeah, that was a race. Krusak's able to hang on. We had multiple cautions during the race, going from fifth to first. We had multiple drivers with unfortunate DNFs in the form of we had Kev Genetics with his disqualification. That was
Maestro Hoffy with the pedals, just
yeah. I don't think Lucas should have retired like he did early on because the Brazilian, if he would have just kept going, that was before all the chaos happened. So he retired early on and kind of just thought, all right, there's no point in going on. I'm not going to catch back up. If he would have stayed out, he maybe could have had a very good finish there.
I feel like Lucas is unfortunately of the mentality of, if I'm not racing for the lead, if I'm not racing for the win, it's not the race for me. It's not my day, and that cost them today, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Kev. It is definitely odd to watch it on the stream rather than on track, but you'll come back stronger next week. Hopefully we get, you can keep your internet from doing what it did today because that was man, that was just heartbreak. I mean, there's no reason for that to drop like that, and it was weird because he disconnected, and then like 5 corners later, his AI decided we're just going to stop on track for no reason and just let ourselves get disqualified. So
Oh my goodness.
yeah,
Okay, I've just seen the updated standings. Uh,
go on.
oh, that hasn't worked. Hold on. Wait, one. That has, in fact. So the team standings are correct. The driver standings I need to update because it has bugged out. But the team standings, there is 1 point in it for the lead right now.
Very, very nice. Very close gap that we have here with Haas hanging on. But Red Bull, after their Bulls finishing 5th and 6th, now within 11 points of that top. And Ferrari closing in a little bit as well. So the team championship, which, as we've heard in previous week, it's not the most important championship to the drivers. The drivers want to win the drivers, which respectfully so. But the team championship is looking mighty close after round number 11 out of 14, sorry. Excuse me. He's the 13 races in the spring. We do have 14 this season.
Do we?
No, sorry. It is 13. Right?
I was about to say,
4,
was there an
5,
extra
6,
race that I was not
10,
expecting?
11, 12, 13 races. Yeah, 13
Okay,
out of 14.
right.
I'm in La La
I'm glad.
Land. Yeah. Yes, 2 more races to go. We have Canada and Brazil. Now, next week, Tipster, I'll tell you right now, I will not be in the booth because I will be in New Orleans. So it'll just be you. Yep, I'm gonna go in there for birthday weekend. So going to go there to celebrate and never been there, so that'll be fun. But I'll be back for Brazil, for the chaos that will ensue. But next week, now after this race, F1 Racer only came home with 12 points, Failure with 15, so that's 3 points in advantage for Jan Failure. Failure, all he has to do is outscore F1 Racer by 6 or more than 6 points, and he will he has to outscore.
Hold on, I'm getting the standings.
He
I
has
figured
to
out what went wrong.
outscore by more than 6 points, and he will win the drivers' championship. Now, if it's a 6-point gap and it's 26 points between the two of them into the final race, now the initial tiebreaker is wins. Failure only has 2 wins on the season. F1 Racer has 1. So F1 Racer would obviously have to win the final race to have a shout at winning the Drivers' Championship and have
There
Failure
we
not
go.
score. But as it stands, Jan Failure, if he pulls 6 points on F1 Racer but is not able to close the deal, I don't know what the next tiebreaker is after wins. We'd have to look that up. But
It'd be second places, third places. It goes down the order.
so second places goes to Jan Failure. So he needs to get. Yeah. So all he has to do is pull 6 points on F1 Racer, and he will win the championship. Because if you look at the tiebreakers, okay, so a 26-point gap into the final race. F1 Racer wins the final race. Failure finishes 11th, so he gets no points. F1 Racer also gets fastest lap, 26 points. They tie it up, 2 wins apiece. The next tiebreaker should be second places, which Jan Failure has 3. F1 Racer has 0. F1 Racer, though, has 5 third places. So if unfortunately you cannot get 3 second places in as many
in 2 races, unfortunately.
Yes, unfortunately. So he just needs 6 points over F1 Racer next race to clinch it. Otherwise, it will go to the final round, which I hope it goes to the final round. I think that would be mighty exciting to see.
Well, I mean, speaking of going to the final round, just look at that race for 4th and 5th. It's really closed the gap now. And also, actually, even for 3rd, like Maestro Hoffi is within 11 points of Lucas. So well within range, especially with the amount of retirements that we've seen from Lucas. And this is what I mean. Even just scoring a couple of points this race may mean the difference between finishing 3rd in the Drivers' Championships and finishing 4th for Lucas, because the gap is that tight.
Now, what I'm going to do to give everyone the shot of knowing what the heck we are talking about, I'm going to pull up these updated standings onto the screen right now. So there is the Provisional Championship Drivers standings. We'll show that first, ahead of the Constructors. So as we were saying, Failure's got that 20-point gap. Now you can see he's got 2 wins. So F1 Racer's 1. So Failure just needs 6 points over F1 Racer going next weekend. Before going to Brazil, he will clinch it because he will have the tiebreaker no matter what in the form of second places. Now, if F1 Racer can somehow pull 20 points on Jan Failure in the next 2 races, he will win. Now, it'll all just depend on how the next race comes down, because Jan Failure, I mean, he had those 2 bad races in Australia and Coda, rebounded for a nice 3rd place. F1 Racer, his last 3 races, 3rd, and 4th. So it's going to be interesting. These drivers have had some good races, but they've unfortunately also had some bad luck. It's a matter of, can F1 Racer find what he needs in the last 2 rounds and bring Ferrari the Drivers' Championship? It's going to be hard, but he's still there. Now, technically, Lucas still has a shot here. The Brazilian, he's within 52 points. Maestro Hoffi has been eliminated. He is at 53, which is impossible to close in, but he's within 52 points, but he would need Failure and F1 Racer to not score and for him to win essentially both races at this stage. Maybe get a second place in one of them, but it's looking rather unlikely, unfortunately, for the Brazilian to win the championship, because his 4 race wins are very mighty, but like you said, it's either all or nothing with him, and unfortunately, he got nothing here today. Now, the more interesting battle, also look, actually, before we switch over to the Constructors, what's cool is Matty now up into 5th, the Italian, who he started out really good, like qualifying wise. He was, you remember, back all the way back in Austria, he qualified up in, like, I think the top 5, and was thinking, wow, champion is here too. He's starting out really hot, but he wasn't able to get his racing together until Abu Dhabi, because he finished 8th and 7th, lost positions, and had to recover. Finally got 4th in Abu Dhabi, a little bit of a step back in 6th in Belgium, but then came home in 2nd and on the podium in Hungary. So he's really getting his form has come together. He's had a couple bad races, but he's definitely rebounded and gotten his way back up into the top 5. Krusik, also another driver who looked very strong at the start of the season. Him and his teammate Gelvan showed a lot of promise, but just hasn't been able to string it together until this race, because coming in he was 8th in the Drivers' Championship, and his best finish was last week at Coda in the form of 2nd. And he only had 1 3rd place, one other podium before that, but he was showing the pace to be someone that could fight for the title. and fortunately just has not had it through it. So interesting to see how that championship has evolved. And also, the Constructors Tipster, that is also an interesting thing to look at because you definitely wouldn't expect. I mean, I didn't expect Red Bull to be in third, that's for sure, but here we are.
Yeah, Red Bull in third, only 10 points off McLaren right now. Ferrari, off the back of that race, F1 Racer, pulling them up into fourth, 6 points ahead of AlphaTauri. Aston Martin jump the Mercedes team as well by 15 points clear now as we reach what is essentially the final stretch of the season. 2 races to go, Canada and Brazil, and both very fast tracks, has to be said.
Yeah, Canada is going to be amazing. That's for sure. I mean, it's going to be a phenomenal race. We haven't raced there in a while here in AOR, but it's going to come back, and it is going to come back with a vengeance. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what happens. Unfortunately, like I said, I will not be here in the booth, but I'll have to look at the results, and I'll be following along with it, like the rest of you guys here in the crowd.
Also,
Go on.
just very quickly, big shout out to the Borner in the driver standings, who has moved up to 15th overall as well as a result of their second place finish tonight.
15th from 25th, mind you. So that is a huge jump for the now full-time driver in the Williams, bringing home a nice haul of points. They actually closed up on Alfa Romeo. He not only, they got a second place now on their name, but they have closed up to Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
They're looking really good.
Well, we're in for an absolute treat in our final 2 races, and thank you very much for having me back in the booth, Fizzy.
Oh, of course.
I don't think we're going to get any interviews tonight by the look of it. So
I do not think so either. So I guess we will bring the closing notes now. Tipster, anything else you'd like to add here today after that phenomenal Grand Prix?
Oh my goodness. We had heartbreak. We had technical failures. We had race leaders just crash out. And for some unknown reason, that seems all too familiar to this afternoon. Not going to say more than that if you haven't seen it already. But it has been absolutely action-packed. I want to say thank you to our drivers who make this what it is. Thank you to you, Fizzy, for bringing us along for the ride. And, of course, thank you to everybody watching at home for, being there and enjoying this with us.
Yep, thank you to everyone here joining us today for this Dutch Grand Prix. It's been an absolute amazing race. We're looking forward to the Canadian Grand Prix next week, followed by the Brazilian Grand Prix to finish out the week. It's going to be very exciting. Or, sorry, not finish out the week. Finish out the season, excuse me. And we look forward to see you guys here next week in the booth. I am struggling a little bit. We look forward to seeing you guys next week here in AOR for the Canadian Grand Prix. It's going to be very exciting. Penultimate round of the season. Can Jan Fehler clinch his second championship here in tier number 1, or will he have to bring it to Brazil? We'll have to wait and see here. But that is all from me today. It's been another Apex Online Racing Formula 1 action sponsored by SimSok and Driver 61 race, brought to you guys by our 2 lovely sponsors. Go check them out at simsok.com and driver61.com today. And we look forward to seeing you guys next time here in AOR for the Canadian Grand Prix. We hope you guys have a safe, happy, and healthy rest of your week. We look forward to seeing you guys next time.
Tot ziens and drive safe.